So you're here because you're considering retiring in Germany. Shall I say, beautiful Germany. I love to travel to Germany as often as possible. And as time goes by, it makes you think, it makes you wonder of the future. I learned a long time ago about saying never say never. I don't know how many times I said, I will never do this. I will never do that. I wind up doing it anyway. So be careful when you say, I will never do something like retire in Germany, because you just don't know. But what I do know, there are several factors to ponder about, to think about, even before you start really considering about this future endeavor, possible endeavor. Who knows? I'm not saying I am, I'm not saying I'm not. But here's some things that I came up with. Now, retiring in Germany is certainly an option. Now, my personal goal, personal, I would love to one day live part-time in the United States, part-time in Germany. That's been my goal forever. All right, it's going to happen. Okay, but there are a lot of factors you really need to look at and pay attention to, and really take into account for each thing, for each item. I mean, yeah, it's a great option to be. I mean, Germany is a beautiful area. It's rich in culture. They bring a strong safety net. The food is outstanding. The spaghetti ice is outstanding. That's a big reason why I want to move to Germany. Spaghetti ice. Okay, but anyways, the food and everything, the culture. Me personally, I love the culture of Germany. It's fun being in Germany. I spent 6 years of my life there total in Germany, and I go back as often as possible. And I will go back more if I could, but I go as often as possible as time will allow me. But there are some requirement challenges out there if you are considering retiring in Germany, full time, or even part of the time, like uh, my wife and I have been considering for a long time. A lot of things got to happen before that time happens, um, but it's good for both. Well, number one, you got to look at visas. Okay, I'm not talking about credit cards, but visas and residency, being a residence in Germany. Now, Germany, they have a lot of bureaucracy, right? A lot of paperwork, a lot of a lot of stampa. Okay, but Germany does not have a specific visa or authorization for a retirement. Instead, retirees need to obtain a long-term residence um, permit. Okay, it's called a Affenstrasse. I messed up that word. Affenhaltstrabnis. Forgive me out there. That's not how it sounds, but that's how it's coming out of my mouth. Okay, but there are different residence permits that you need. There's stuff that you need first. Okay, first is sufficient funds. Okay, we're going to talk about that as we go along here. But you can apply for a resident permit if you can prove that you have enough of retirement income, pension income, assets, whatever, to support yourself without working. Now I'm talking in retirement age area and whatnot. Okay, so you have self-employment. If you're a freelancer, say if you're a author, you write books. Okay, you're freelancing, photography, whatever. If you're self-employed, you can apply for a self-employment visa. You have a family reunification visa. If you have family members, close family members that are German residents or citizens of Germany, okay, you may be eligible for what you call a family reunification visa. That's pretty cool. But to obtain a resident permit, you generally need a, number one, valid passport. You must have a valid passport. Make sure it's at least 6 months out past the time you're going to be there and before it expires, all that good stuff. You have to have it, without a doubt, a valid passport. And they're not going to let you in the country to begin with if you don't have a valid passport. They won't let you on the plane unless you have a valid passport, okay? But, it needs to be said. Uh, Again, you have to have proof of sufficient financial resources. It's a must-have. It's a must-have. You have to actually prove that you have these funds to live on, and you're not mooching off the German government or something like that, okay? Another thing is health insurance. We're going to talk about health insurance a little bit as we go too. And unfortunately, I'll give you a little heads up. U.S. Medicare will not work in Germany. You have to have either the private insurance or the public insurance. There, they have a specific. They have another health insurance for retirees per se as well, but you need their health insurance. American insurance will not work. Now, there's other stuff too. If you're retired military, U.S. military, you could go to military TRICARE. There's other ways to get around that as well. But we'll talk about that in a later video. But you also have to have proof of residency, proof of accommodation, whether you're renting a house, renting an apartment, flat, whatever. Even if you're purchasing, okay, you have to have proof of accommodation that you have a place there. Now, what I understand, maybe you can answer me that in the comments below. I believe you may, and I say the word may loosely, have a B1 level language proficiency standard. I believe you do have to. I've read you do have to have a B1 level as a retiree not working, but then I read that you have to. So if anybody who's listening right now, if you know the answer to that question, let me know, because I'm not sure, because I've seen yay and nay on that. Okay. Another thing too is having a clean criminal record. Okay, especially felonies. Okay, no felonies. They don't want no felons in there. Okay. Germany, they do have what you call a dual healthcare system. Where they have the mandatory public health insurance and the private insurance that I was talking about. So you got your public and your private insurances there. Okay, I think it's a GKV, yeah, which it offers comprehensive coverage with income-based premiums. So based on what you're making, it goes based on what you're making. Okay, so it's income-based. But you also have the PKV, oh my goodness, the private insurance, which provides a little bit more flexibility, but you will have higher costs, just like anything, right? You get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. So you have your health care for retirees. You got to be coverage there. But again, you may be eligible for lower public insurance premiums with that. But you could choose the more expensive private option as well. So you look at back and forth. And I just want to reiterate, okay, U.S. Medicare will not work in Germany at all. It's not covered anywhere. Any expenses incurred in Germany, they will not handle that. So please keep this in mind. And so don't leave that on the shelf somewhere, because you have to address that issue on that. And also look at cost of living. You got cost comparison. Now, living in Germany, it can be lower in the U.S. In fact, I've seen where it's lower than the U.S. A lot more budget friendly areas. You got your city, you got city center, you got your more out in the country. Okay, but you will find a budget lifestyle that's pretty awesome, actually. As I study more into this, as I look more into this, it's really budget friendly, and that's really cool. But location does matter. Now you go into the big cities like Munich or Berlin or any of the big cities. Well, it's going to be more expensive than smaller towns, without a doubt, no doubt about it. Okay, rent. You're looking for a 1-bedroom, say in a small town, between 800, 1,500 euros a month, right around there, especially in the city center parts of the smaller areas. The bigger cities, you're probably looking at 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe 18, 19, whatever your fancy is. Okay. You know, you get what you pay for. That is true. But what I'm trying to say is it's more expensive in the major cities than it is out and about in the smaller cities. So keep that in mind. All right. So for a couple per se, okay, a comfortable monthly budget would be, it can range from 2,500 to 4,000. That's including your rent, possibly mortgage, your food, your transportation, which I love the public transportation over there. Wow, do I love it? It's very easy. A lot of Germans, not a lot of Germans, but some Germans complain about the DB. Oh, it's late, it's late. But for us being an American, we don't have the train system like they do over there. To us, even if it's 5 minutes late, and I'm an on-time person, I do not like being late. But just to be on the to be able to get on the train, go to the next city, I mean, it's a treat for me. It's a treat for us Americans to do that. So I really, yeah, you have things happen. I've been stuck on the train for hours sometimes, you know, but that's okay. Hey, I'm in Germany. I don't care. I'm on a train in Germany. I'm good, right? But anyway, so just keep that in mind. Public transportation is awesome. I get asked all the time, well, what would be the best places to visit? And here lately, I've been getting questions like, well, what are the best places to retire and everything? Well, you know, it's funny how time goes by. You know, your mind's thinking, you know, you think of the future. You never know. Never say never, folks. Never say never. But the popular cities are Munich, Heidelberg, Berlin, Nuremberg, Leipzig. Leipzig's Freiburg. Freiburg's down there, down the Black Forest. I just met not in person yet, a YouTuber out of Freiburg, Stacy Minks. I've been watching her videos lately. She's an American living in Germany, married to a German, living in Freiburg area. And check her out, Stacy Minks. And I'll put her link down below, by the way, and down in the description. Okay, make sure and tell her I sent you. Please do that. But regardless, wherever you're considering the big cities, the big major cities, whatever location, consider the costs. Okay, that includes not only rent, okay, food, all that stuff, but healthcare access. Okay, make sure. Did I say make sure you check that out? Dot your I's, cross your T's, and go back and do it again. Okay, but look at the stuff around the cultural attractions. Okay, do you want to be in a tourist area, or you want to fit in? Me personally, I want to go and fit in and just slide in and just fit in. But with that, there are a lot of expats communities. For example, another one of my favorite YouTubers is the Traveling Expats. They're Americans living in Germany part-time and part-time in the United States. And great couple. And Lee and Betty, the Traveling Expats. And you just go there, just type in the Traveling Expats, and you'll see them. Tell them I sent you there too. I'll put their link in there too, as a matter of fact. Okay, go see them. All right, and they have all kinds of informational stuff too on retiring in Germany and whatnot. They just went through the residency permitting thing, whatever. They're legal now, and so everything. So check that out. Another thing too, and before I say this, before I even get into this, I am not a tax professional. I am not okay. This is just Darion here, who loves going to an American who loves going to Germany and loves being there, and that's where my heart is. I'm a proud American, always will be, you know. But my heart is in. I just love Germany. I really do. I love America, but I love Germany too. Okay, but let's talk taxes and finances. Okay. Now, taxation. Now, your pensions, your retirement, even the savings, they may be subject to German income tax. Okay, again, check with a tax professional. I am not a tax professional. All right. The U.S., United States Social Security may also be taxable in Germany. Make sure you check with a what? Go ahead and say it. Tax professional. Not there. Just I'm guiding you. All right. And make sure you get all your tax advice. Okay, seek that advice before you go, before you start really dumping your mind in there. Oh, I'm moving to Germany, and also have your ducks in a row. Okay, pretend like you got a whole bunch of spaghetti ice, and all your spaghetti ice are in a row. Okay, If you don't know me by now, I love spaghetti eyes. Check out my playlist. All right. Let's talk about language. Okay. It's beneficial to learn the German language. I do not speak fluent German. That's my goal one day to speak German. Um, but ich lerne Deutsch langsam. I'm learning German slowly. I can get around, and each time I go, I see a difference. I see improvement. And I know if I was there more, I would be, you know, I would learn more or quicker. But absolutely learn German. Get to know people. All right. Consider joining some social clubs out there. All right. Socialize with others. Connect with expats, other American expats. Not only American expats, but Germany's becoming a melting pot. There's expats from all over. Australia, England. You just name it. You'll find an expat group. I see it all over Facebook. All right. But look here. Retiring in Germany, it offers a lot of advantages, a lot of disadvantages. Okay, there's good, there's a bad, good, bad, ugly, and everything, right? Okay, but the pros include the lower cost of living. Okay, now there's some neighboring countries out there that are higher than Germany, but look, healthcare, a strong sense of safety and security. I can walk around Germany town and I feel safe. I'm not looking over my shoulder. I mean, you're being careful. You're looking over. You're checking things out. That's ingrained in us, right? Okay, but you know, I just feel safe. It's just a security thing. But the challenges could also be the language barrier. Okay, all the stampa. It's a stampa. Where's your stamp? Okay, processes and everything. Okay, all right. But since I'm talking about that, I'm gonna give you some pros and cons of living in Germany, retiring in Germany, and some already mentioned, but some are again the lower cost of living. Okay, that's huge. That's huge, especially the housing. You know, living there is significant, lower than us here in the United States. Again, the excellent health care. You know, you have a very high quality healthcare system, which is a huge draw for folks, especially retirees. Now, I'm not going to diss my American healthcare. We got quality stuff too. Okay, this isn't you know, better or worse as far as that. But Germany, the healthcare is high quality. Okay, and it's not like it is in the States. For instance, I broke my leg in Germany back in 2021. The total cost was like $8,000 with surgery, 9 days in the hospital. That same surgery and 9 days in the hospital will cost me at least $100,000 in the United States. So you see where I'm going? Okay. So we gotta look at the big picture. All right. The safety of Germany. All right. The low crime rates. Look up the crime rates in Germany. Figure out the city or place that you want to go to in Germany. Look at the crime rates and compare them to where you live. Okay, or anywhere else in the United States. Okay, you'll see it in there. But being in Germany, you know, another pro is a central location. You could travel anywhere. You could travel to Italy, France, Belgium, all these other places, Poland. Go to all these different places from there, and especially the big city, the big hubs like Munich Hauptbahnhof. You know, you go anywhere. Frankfurt Hauptbahnhof, either the main one or the airport Bahnhof. I mean, it's just really accessible and easy to use. You know, and you tons of historical sites, the beautiful scenery, a wealth of cultural attractions that are just everywhere. Now let's talk a little bit of the cons. Okay, well, I sort of mentioned this too, the language barrier. Okay, all right. Now, if you might want to freelance or something in Germany, or you want to do something, it's good to know a little bit of Germany. If you want to live in Germany, it's good to know Germany. I want to encourage you to learn as much German as possible, okay? Because that will enhance your experience of living there, even if you're just visiting there, okay? Learn a couple words, you know, thank you, you know, all the good stuff, excuse me, and everything. But remember, another con is bureaucracy. Okay, it could be time consuming, it could be aggravating, and ask my friends Betty and Lee. You know, it could be you got all the stuff in it, but if you don't have it, they'll turn you right around and leave. Okay, so now Germans, they could be pretty reserved, pretty private. It's a little bit different of here in America. Now we have reserved and private people too, absolutely. But it's different. Over here, you see somebody, hey, how you doing? Figure of speech. Okay. Over there in Germany, how you doing? They'll tell you exactly how they're doing, which is cool, But it's hard to form that lasting relationship. But once you do, once you break over that barrel, once you jump over that hoop, and you meet a German, they're friends for life. I got friends from Germany, in the north of Germany, south of Germany, East Germany, what the former East Germany, there's no more East Germany, the former East Germany, West Germany, everywhere. I got friends everywhere, and I love them. They're like family, and I call them my German sisters and brothers, because we have such a good time. But no one, you will never lose it. Okay. So this is very beneficial to you to do it. Okay. But if you don't have that aptitude, that could be a con. That could be a con when in contrast to a pro of moving to Germany. So this is very, very important. But seek out American expats, not only American expats, but other expats, like I was saying earlier. They come from all over the world, and and join a community. So you'll be together. Okay. Now the weather, it could be winters could be cold, absolutely snowy. All right. It's not going to be, Miami Beach. Okay. It changes. Okay. But, these are still part of the cons. Housing costs, again, generally lower than the US. Okay. But the big cities, they could be higher. The taxes. Okay. The taxes are relatively high, and it could be a tax burden, and that can impact your income, especially for those who are on a fixed income. Okay, so that's why you got to look at every aspect of it. Okay, every aspect of it. Okay, before you make that decision, before you jump into it, and that's where I'm at. That's my wife and I's goal. One day is to live in the United States, which I don't, I'm right here part time, and then Germany the other half of the year. Sort of like snowbirds. But I guess we're not snowbirds because I'm from Florida. So beach birds. Would I be a beach bird? I might be a snowbird. I'll be a beach bird. How about that? Huh. Hmm. Anyways, okay. Back to the point. In conclusion, here, if you could consider retiring in Germany, make sure you plan and plan carefully. Do your research, do your homework, check out every dot and tittle of everything. Okay. Seek professional advice about your taxes. Okay. Your visas. Okay. And make an informed decision on those items. Just don't say, oh, let's move to Germany, and find out, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Okay. Because you could go to Germany now on a 90-day visa. Okay. Or excuse me, without a visa for 90 days. Excuse me. Okay. And you could apply for it during that 90 days and whatnot, and then be able to stay there until it's either approved or not approved. But that's another story. That's another story. But anyways, I hope that this video helps you today. Thank you so much for being here. You never know. You never know what life is gonna hand you. You just never know. That's very true. So with that being said, Dankeschön, Tschüss, and always remember this, what I'm about to tell you. It's very, very, very important. Never say never. Tschüss.